is a great honor to introduce to so many of you, but to also welcome back to this party, a great friend, a champion for social justice and equality, Dr. Reverend Bernice King.
When evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men, and I'll add women, burn and bomb, good men and women must build and bind. When evil men and women shout ugly words of hatred, good men and women must commit themselves to the glories of love. When evil men and women would seek to perpetuate an unjust status quo, good men and women must seek to bring into being a real order of justice. These are the words from my father, Martin Luther King, Jr. And it is my hope and prayer going forward that these are the words that will resonate with this party. Good morning, and I add my welcome to the great city of Atlanta, Georgia. I want to thank the DNC leadership for this opportunity, and I certainly want to recognize and give honor to my mayor, Mayor Kasim Reed. God bless you. I come today to speak to you as a citizen of the United States of America, a global humanitarian, a daughter of Martin Luther and Coretta Scott King, and last and certainly not least, as a daughter of the King of Kings. And according to the powers that be in the DNC, I only have 10 minutes to do what my grandfather used to tell people to do, and that is make it plain. I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, it is no accident and no coincidence that the DNC is in the ATL. Whether you realize it or not, being here was a setup. In the first place, there's a correlation. Just a few weeks ago, in our great city, we had the wonderful pleasure of anticipating winning a Super Bowl. We were ready, and we knew, Mayor Reed, that we were going to come away with that championship. So much so that when we got into the third quarter, many of us had already called the game. But then a thing called the fourth quarter happened, and overtime. And we faltered at the last minute. We prematurely celebrated. And we know that the rest is history. When the Falcons got back, I'm sure, as he always does, Arthur Blank went to work. Went to work realizing that he had to make some shifts and adjustments because we had gotten that close to making history, just as the DNC was close once again to making history. We did not stay on our A game the entire time as the Falcons. And I'm sad to say that we in this party did not stay on our A game the entire time. But there's hope, and that's why I'm here today. There's hope because it's also no coincidence that you are in the city of Martin Luther King, Jr. There's a lot that I can extract and draw upon from Dr. King, but there's one thing that I want to speak into this atmosphere on this morning, and that is, he said that one of the greatest liabilities of history is that all too many people find themselves amid great periods of social change, and yet they fail to achieve the new mental outlook and the new attitudes that the new situation demands. Brothers and sisters, it's time to adopt a new mental outlook and new attitudes, because there's a new situation that's making a demand on you as the leadership. You know your constituents. You hear the cries that are in the streets and in communities. But if there's anything that I can say as a daughter of Dr. King, is that we cannot afford to move forward in this divisive climate and not rise above the fray. And as our former First Lady said, when they go low, we go high. We have to be willing to shift our tactics and shift our ways, so much so that we have to open ourselves up to doing something perhaps that we've never done before. What do I mean? I mean that this nation right now needs leaders who are willing to step into the mess and step into the divisiveness and step into the pain and the anguish and be willing to find a way to bring everybody together. Because as we know, we came here on different ships and boats, but we're all in the same boat now. And it reminds me of this story about a little boy who was out with his father fishing one day. And just out of nowhere, the little boy started giggling, and the daddy wanted to know why. And the little boy didn't say a word. A few minutes passed, and he started giggling some more, and the daddy said, "Come on, tell me why you're giggling." The little boy still didn't say a word, and the father said, "Okay, if you don't tell me, then I'm going to have to punish you." Of course, that motivated little Johnny. And little Johnny proceeded to say, "Well, Dad, you have a hole in your side of the boat, and you're going to drown." But what Johnny didn't realize is that he was in the same boat, and that if his father drowned, that he was going to drown as well. Brothers and sisters, there's a hole in the boat called these United States of America. And right now, we are dangerously close to being the divided states of America. And the only way that we are going to be a party that is representative of all of America is we've got to be willing to listen when we don't want to hear. We got to be willing to understand before we seek to be understood. What I'm saying to you is that Dr. King tried to teach us another way, a way of nonviolence that calls for us to consider that maybe there's something else that we need to hear. Maybe there's something else that we need to consider. That we can no longer be in the business of dismissing anyone because we disagree with them. Because somewhere there is a truth in the middle of all of this. In other words, we got to find a win-win pathway forward. Because if we don't learn to live together as brothers and sisters, yes, together, we're going to perish as fools. There's a story in the Bible about a tribe called Issachar. That tribe had something unique about them. I understand that they were those who understood the times and they knew exactly what to do. It is my prayer and hope that you will rise to become the party that understands the times and knows exactly what to do. There are those who are not in this party. There are those who have left this party. There are those who don't want to have anything to do with this party. But in order to understand the times and know what to do, there has to be a strategy. And that strategy has to be to win people over and not focus on winning over people. The problem with America today is that there's so much energy trying to prove that I'm right and you're wrong, that I'm better and you're not. There's too much energy on winning over people than winning people over. So I challenge you as you go forward, no matter which way you vote today, that you align yourselves with each other, because there's no secret that there's division even in this camp. But if you're going to win people over, then you've got to find a way to lay aside those things that divide you and find that common ground to move forward to win more people over, as you said, to your values and your principles. Because the way that we have been going for the last several years in America, it's time to stop the violence. When I was growing up, my mother used to say all the time to me and my siblings, somebody's got to cut off the chain of violence. I didn't understand what she was saying, and as I grew older, I heard her basically saying, Bernice, you have to be the one to cut off the chain of violence. We got to shift the climate, because that which we do and the seeds that we sow, if they are consistent with seeds that have been sown against us, the harvest that will come up will not be for the good of all of humanity. There's a cry right now. The cry is, who is going to care about our humanity? People no longer care about whether you're a Democrat or Republican. They're looking for leaders who are willing to serve humanity at all cost. And I want to leave you with this story, if you don't hear anything else. It's a story told about a couple who died. They were visited by an angel. And an angel took them to a kingdom on one side of the universe. And there they saw this huge banquet table with foods laid out all over the place. There was prime ribs, and there were prawns, and there were lobster. There was fried chicken and collard greens and chitlins, and sounds like y'all might know a little bit about, since you're in the South. There was shrimp fried rice. There was tofu, Brussels sprouts, enchiladas. Somebody said, put a crab cake in there. Anything that your mind can imagine that is delectable to your taste buds. And there was something strange, though, about this couple as they looked, at this strange about this room as this couple looked. Because while the foods were so delicious, the people seemed to be so strange. They were inept. There was no mobility of limbs. There was no laughter and no joy that was being exuded. And the couple asked the angel, why with all of this delicious food the people seem to be so inept and weak and powerless. And the angel looked at them and said, there's one law in the entire universe. Well, the angel rushed them off to another kingdom on the other side of the universe, and there they saw the same exact banquet table, the foods laid out in the same exact places. But the people were very different. These people were lively. These people were excited. They were energized and passionate, and they had forward-moving progress and mobility of their limbs. And the couple stepped back and said, whoa, wait a minute, what is the difference in these two kingdoms? And the angel said to them once again, there's one law in the entire universe. Went on to say, this is the law: you must use the utensils provided by the management. But these utensils were 10 feet long. They were 10 feet forks. They were 10 feet knives. They were 10 feet spoons. And the angel said, you see, in that first kingdom where the bodies were frail and there was no mobility and no laughter and no forward moving progress, they were taking these 10 feet utensils and they were seeking to feed themselves, and they're literally starving to death. But in that second kingdom where there was liveliness and passion and forward moving progress and mobility of limbs, they were taking the same 10 feet utensils, but they decided to reach across the table and feed each other. That's the way forward. You can no longer exist in the echo chamber. You have to be willing to reach across the differences and reach across the aisle and reach across the ideologies and reach across the beliefs and reach across the gender identities and reach across the races and reach across the religions and reach across the ethnicity. But more importantly, we got to reach across party lines, and we got to begin to feed each other for the health of the whole. Now, let me say this. Walk together, children. Don't you get weary. Work together, children. Don't you get weary. Hold on to each other, children. Don't you get weary. Fuss and fight, but you got to get over it together, children. And don't get weary. But don't forget to pray together, children, because you will get weary. And one day we'll all be able to stand and support that party that truly is representative of all of America, whether they're in the red state or the blue state, because they know, as John Kasich said, we are all red, white, and blue. And we will say with Dr. King, free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty. We are all free at last. God bless you.